Assalamualaikum and a very good day everyone. I am Imran Syahmi bin Abdul Malek, and today I'm going to share with you the planned lesson that I have come up with for the subject TSL520 Teaching English Through Drama assignment. This is the individual lesson plan and material development, and I hope you'll enjoy my presentation today. The prerequisite of the lesson is as follows. 30 secondary Form 4 students with approximately A2 to B1 range of CEFR proficiency level, 60 minutes time allocated for the whole lesson using skit as the dramatic technique centering around consumerism and financial awareness as the theme, and then also focus on the language of comparing and contrasting, specifically on words and phrases describing jobs. Next, the main skill of this lesson will be speaking, and it will be coupled with writing as the complementary skill. The content and learning standards include Speaking 2.1, communicate information, ideas, opinions, and feelings intelligibly on familiar topics, and Speaking 2.1.4, explain and justify own point of view, and also Writing 4.1, communicate intelligibly through print and digital media on familiar topics, and Writing 4.1.3, explain the main points of an idea or argument. At the end of this lesson, students should be able to, number 1, identify words and phrases related to the delivery man occupation in the video provided. Number 2, rewrite the details of a conversation and compare their chosen occupation with the talk partner. And number 3, perform a skit on the topic of occupation by delivering a minimum of 3 lines individually. Those are the 3 learning objectives that are targeted to be achieved in this lesson. In the pre-lesson stage, a warm-up activity will take place once teacher has greeted the students and checked attendance. This activity is called alphabetical occupation, and the name itself is pretty self-explanatory. Teacher assigns alphabets to individual students and then give 30 to 60 seconds for them to think of an occupation that starts with their assigned letter. Then, teacher will call out a random alphabet, and the students with the assigned alphabet will then say aloud their answer. The materials required for this activity is a list of occupations for teacher to refer to as guidance. This activity serves to activate student schemata, which according to Holland, as cited by Griselda, Sutapa and Salam, would be effective for students to learn new information as it taps on students' prior knowledge on occupation and prepare them to integrate it with new contents such as working hours, salary, and job responsibility. Additionally, establishing the topic or context prior to speech activities can make the following tasks in the lesson easier for the students, especially in higher difficulty lessons, as stated by Thornbury in his book, How to Teach Speaking. In the first stage of lesson development, teacher will share a YouTube video with the students titled Misunderstanding Your Job Description, where it is a sketch about a delivery man. After watching the video, teacher asks for their opinions on it, along with some gist questions such as how many people were in the video, what were they talking about, and where do you think they currently are. The video is then replayed for students to identify words or phrases related to the occupation delivery man. This can be done by writing the words and phrases that they heard in the video in their vocabulary notebook. Then, the class will engage in a discussion about these 2 occupations, cashier and delivery man, while also using the textbook on page 47 for prompts and additional vocabulary during the discussion. The materials required during this stage are slide screen and projector to share the video itself, students' vocabulary notebook, and the Full Blast Plus 4 English textbook. This activity uses video as a material to focus on specific language features while also being useful as a model for students' speech. Thornbury, in his book, noted how recordings work generally well for students to achieve awareness-raising state. Tylab and Marsh also proved how recordings can help raise awareness on students' oral presentation skills in their study. Plus, the video can also function as an exposure for students towards skit performances, while the activity that accompanies the video gets them to focus on specific vocabulary that is related to the lesson. The appropriation activity marks the second stage of lesson development, where students will work in pairs to rewrite a conversation with a job of their own choice. First, teacher will demonstrate the conversation to the classroom in a video format, as it is actually a great opportunity to showcase some elements of skit to the students. Then, students take 5 minutes to prepare the conversation by rewriting it in their notebook and then reenact the modified version of the conversation with a talk partner. This is done at their own seats, by the way, and not in front of the classroom. Once they are done, they can switch roles between each other, and teacher could also encourage them to incorporate speech acts, vary their intonations, and include discourse markers to make the conversation sound more natural. The materials needed for this activity are the conversation transcript to be distributed to each pair of students, a demonstration video of the conversation, and students' vocabulary notebook to rewrite and modify the conversation that has been given to them. Now, a writing task in a speaking lesson may sound a bit bizarre, but it's actually very useful for students to practice new speech features without the pressure of a speaking activity. Or so did Thornberry says. This activity is also done as pair work, where Dupont, Held, and Hossein state that it could provide a low pressure and high involvement environment. This environment will then encourage students to safely and comfortably practice conversing in the target language. Plus, the text provided in this activity can also become a model script for the students when they brainstorm for the skit performance later on during the lesson. The final activity for this lesson is the long-awaited and much anticipated skit performance, where students are required to perform a 2 to 3 minute skit in a group of 6. Each group will be supplied with A4 papers and markers to discuss or make props with, that is, if they choose to do so, and 10 minutes prep time for them to brainstorm a performance that is related to the topic of the lesson. Teacher can provide the title for their performance, especially to groups that are of lower proficiency level, so that they can maximize the time given to come up with a plot of their skit instead of deciding what kind of skit that they would like to perform. While their friends are performing, the groups that have performed or are not performing right after can take note of one thing that they liked and one thing that they disliked about their friend's performance. At the end of the activity, teacher can also provide general feedback to the class and invite students to self-reflect and self-evaluate on their own performance. The materials needed for this activity are A4 papers, colored markers, a timer, and students' vocabulary notebook. I'm sure we all know that group work activities can provide many benefits, and in this one, it promotes individual accountability, as skits cannot be performed if even one of the group members refuses to take part in the discussion. As performing a skit can be considered as a difficult activity for students to accomplish, it aligns with one of Thornberry's speaking task criteria, which is challenging. A challenging speaking task can force students to expend any and every communicative resource available in their repertoire. Not to mention, a small study by Padmasari also proved that skit works well in improving students' speaking ability. Peer feedback that is included in this task also allows students the autonomy to reflect and self-regulate their performance on their own or between fellow learners. The post-lesson stage is fairly simple. Teacher recaps the lesson by briefly going through what they have learned today and emphasize the importance of knowing and comparing job specifications. Teacher can also take some time, if there's any left, to ask and talk about students' ideal career before ending the lesson by bidding farewell to the classroom. The classroom seating arrangement that is recommended to be used in conducting this lesson is the herringbone arrangement as suggested by Renard. This formation is suitable for students to give their full attention to the front of the classroom, as their desks are turned to face the center. Grouping and pairing can also be done simply by turning their seats 180 degrees to face the row behind them. Thus, it maximizes the time students spend on brainstorming and discussing rather than losing time when they try to figure out how to pair and group up. We have now arrived at the end of this presentation. I hope that all of you have enjoyed my lesson plan, and I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback or answering any questions from all of you. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Have a good day and bye bye.